Welcome to hello. Okay, I'm this thing like delayed in the little ding, letting me know it was on and whatever. So I'm not exactly sure where we started, but okay, fine. Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another edition of Paradigm Shift, an educational comedy. Of course, I'm Dave Kelso, aka Time Warrior. This is Richard Hamilton, aka GeneralTate, and we're going to do something that we promised to do for quite a while, but schedules just have not aligned until now. So I'm going to go into screen share mode. Here we go. I'm sure to click present to everyone. There we go. Okay, cool. Can we see the screen okay?
I can see it just fine.
And you can even see it clearly enough to read it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So you can play narrator after I explain what this is. Okay, back on March 27, short rant, the global warming debate. Whenever one person stands up and says, wait a minute, this is wrong, it helps other people to do the same. So, okay. My post was it wasn't about the global warming debate itself. It was about the silliness and the stupidity of how it's conducted. Whether you believe in man-created global warming or you think it's nothing more than a globalist hoax, I would like to take a moment to say something controversial to both sides. I would like to say that both sides of the debate are an irrelevant distraction for the following reasons. Number one, both sides can agree that clear-cutting forests is a bad idea. Two, both sides can agree that polluting the air is a bad idea. Three, both sides can agree that polluting the water is a bad idea. Four, both sides agree that switching to clean energy sources is a good idea. Five, neither side enjoys getting monetarily raped at the gas pump. Six, both sides can agree that regardless of their individual reasons for agreeing, that trashing the planet in any way has dangerous consequences and that we should stop doing it. So with that said, whether you believe in man-made global warming or not is completely fucking irrelevant, and both sides would rather let the planet be destroyed while having egocentric dick-wagging contests with each other about who is supposedly right and who is supposedly wrong, while corrupt corporations continue to control the ship of state as the top 1% get richer and the rest of us get fucked. You would rather name, call, and complain rather than work together, because no matter how enlightened and intelligent you think you all are, you're nothing but a bunch of butthurt fucks. Now, both sides can decide to agree that I'm an asshole for saying it like this because the truth hurts, bitches. So yeah, of course, what's the first thing that happens? People automatically pile on to make my point for me. Of course, I got some applause and stuff here. Here's a little clappy emoticons and whatever, but Kajum and Valendale, they're always kind of going at each other's throats about this. And both of them just dickwag. Because the thing is, in my view anyway, most of what Kajum says is actually correct. And most of what Valendale thinks is the political spin. Because obviously, this issue is a real issue, but whenever people have disagreements on it, it's like, oh my God, you're a denialist and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, nobody's denying anything. It's just that people like to nitpick and bicker and bitch about the semantics. And if you don't kiss somebody's political asshole and lick their asshole and lick all the diarrhea poop out of it and go, nummy, nummy, nums, your propaganda's so good, and give me more, then they're like, fuck you, you're a denier, and blah, blah, blah. So, like, these two are always going at each other. And the big surprise to me was that I fully expected Kajum to be more open-minded to what I was saying, and for Valendale to get butthurt and block me, be like, fuck you, you're stupid, I'm not dealing with you. But the exact polar opposite happened. That, I must admit, surprised me. Because Kajum just could not handle the fact that I think that they're both acting like a bunch of immature little kids, exactly as what my post was about. And they kept both trying to debate the issue. And I'm like, guys, you want to debate that, that's all well and fine, but, that's not actually what my post is about. Last I checked, this was my post on my journal that I made. That means I have the right to discuss any topic that I want. And anybody who doesn't want to discuss that topic doesn't have to. That's fine. There's no gun to anybody's head, But they both come on like, fuck you. You're not allowed to talk about, the topic that you want to talk about. You have to do what we say. You have to do what we want, or fuck you. But that was totally cool because it completely makes the point of my journal here, because neither of them were willing to actually face what I was saying. They wanted to just remain locked in the exact dichotomy that I was talking about here, and neither of them wanted to acknowledge the elephant in the room. I was just completely shocked when it was Kajum who was like, fuck you, block, and Valendale actually, for the most part, was civil. I mean, I do agree. I do think that Valendale is, trapped in his paradigms about weather stuff, but at least Valendale didn't like crap all over me. Whereas Kajum's like, how dare you insinuate that my ego might have anything to do with anything? How dare you post on a topic that you want to post on and you didn't conform to my will? Fuck you, Dave, you Satan. It's like, what? So yeah, that was interesting. And this text for the comments is a bit small. I can read it. You all might have some trouble, so I'm going to enlarge so that things are easier to read. So, oh man, where the hell should we start? I guess we could start on this bottom one. I'll just kind of take this to new tab so we don't get confused. Would you like to narrate, Rich?
Yeah, I can narrate a little bit. Okay, yeah, as I recall, this was his first comment, too. This is where it started. So Valendale begins with Dave's points, or at least 4 of them. 1, both sides can agree that clear-cutting forests is a bad idea. Actually, the climate science, and then he goes into his little dogmatic bullshit of he's trying to move it back to just one side, and it's all, whatever, I'm right, you're wrong, my side's God, the other side's the devil, don't confuse the two, you're just delusional kind of stuff. Actually, the climate science deniers tend to be in favor of anything that destroys the environment. Well, I don't think there's any science behind the global warming theory. That's my personal opinion, but I certainly am not for spraying aluminum particulates into the atmosphere, polluting the atmosphere. So Valendale, you're full of shit. I'm sorry. You're trying to label all of us people who question the global warming theory. It's not fact. It's a theory, regardless of how much Mr. Bill Gates or Al Gore like to slam their dick in your mouth.
I invented the interwebs. I invented the interwebs. I am Al Gore. Duh.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think there is such a thing as climate science deniers. And the so-called deniers, I never see any of them going, yeah, let's spray bullshit in the air and aluminum particulates in the polluting jet fuel, and yeah, let's just crank up those nasty petroleum motors and just turn the entire earth into a smog haven, and yeah, let's just litter and just destroy the earth. Yeah, man, let's just do that.
Pour nuclear waste into the rivers and stuff. Yeah, no. I'm not that kind of person. I believe in conservation. I believe in selective harvest when it comes to cutting trees down. Cutting down the bigger trees and allowing the smaller trees that you planted underneath of those to grow so they can get sunlight and grow into bigger trees later on. I believe in, doing things efficiently, but in a way that doesn't destroy the environment.
And I believe that if we would stop pussyfooting about it, industrial hemp, and not have a baby fit about that.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
we wouldn't need to cut down anywhere near as many trees.
There's multiple alternatives for paper and things of that nature. I mean, plant fibers have proven wonders for paper products. I mean, hell, Coca-Cola's making. I was up at Crater Lake the other day, and I was looking at the cups that they use are made the wax coating that they use on the paper cups. It's made out of organic plant material. I mean, there's so many things you can use plants for, just basic herbs and things of that nature to create compounds and chemicals. And
biofuels.
The earth is literally abundant in materials, and there's literally all kinds of healthy things that you can do for the environment. But anyway, moving on to the next point, and me just proving Valendale that he's full of shit and he just needs to shut his mouth and suck on Bill Gates' dick, like a little cunt. I just proved him wrong because I'm a climate science, more like climate theory, you fuckface. Okay. Number 2, both sides can agree that polluting the air is a bad idea, which is true. Actually, the climate science deniers often try to argue that increased CO2 is good for the environment and methane is nothing to worry about.
I want to comment on that. Increased CO2 is good for plants because the plants then put out the oxygen that we need. Now, if we're killing all the plants, then increased CO2 is definitely a bad thing.
Yeah. That's essentially the equivalent of the movie Apollo 13, where the rising CO2 levels are getting increasingly toxic, and the crew's getting towards asphyxia and hypoxia and all that stuff, lack of oxygen in the blood, increased CO2 levels, and they do nothing about it. That's bad. But if you've got CO2 scrubbers, filters that filter out that air, clean out the CO2, and keep the oxygen flowing, there's the balance. You got to have balance. You got to.
That's what plants do.
You got to have your Hakuna to your Matata. You can't have one or the other. You've got to have balance there. Yes, CO2 is great for the environment. Plants love CO2. Plants can't get enough CO2. They need CO2.
Yeah. But the CO2 without the plants, that's a bad deal.
Yes, no plants, increased CO2, very bad. And what a lot of these fuckheads don't remember is the fact that the ocean is full of phytoplankton, billions, trillions, quadrillions of metric phytoplankton just out there in the ocean doing their thing. Okay, yeah, we have toxic spills here, we have things here that affect this and that, but yet again, in the small picture of things, that's not very much. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's right that we're doing that. I'm saying it's a small chunk of the puzzle here. I mean, you've got phytoplankton in the ocean. You've got plants. You've got multiple sources of oxygen.
Now, let me clarify something. We're not saying that tons of this plankton isn't getting killed, and we're not saying that it's not bad, that it's not horrible that it's getting killed. Yes, it's bad, but the point is that that everybody can agree we need to stop being douchebags to the ocean. So if we weren't being douchebags to the ocean, then that CO2 would be getting processed. So then increase in CO2 levels would just mean increase in plants, which means increase in oxygen. Okay. His pizza is here. He ordered pizza. I'm going to be having pizza later today, too. So, yeah. That's cool. But, I mean, I have not ever seen anybody walk around saying, yeah, man, let's litter, let's pollute, let's destroy the ocean, let's ruin the land, let's do this, let's do that. I've seen people ignorantly think that, to ignorantly not realize that what they're doing is destructive. And I've seen them ignorantly say, oh, this isn't hurting anything. What's wrong with that? And refusing to see that, yes, actually it is doing damage. I've seen people do that. That's ignorance, but it's not the same thing as them willfully knowing that, they're causing harm and being like, fuck yeah, man, I want to cause harm. Let's cause all kinds of harm. Harm is good. Yeah. No. I don't see anybody except maybe a minority of top 1% capitalist scumfucks that, you know, only care about making money, and they're thinking, well, by the time the earth gets too destroyed, I'll probably be dead anyways, so who cares, you know? So, you know, they're just being a bunch of douchebags. But I don't think that extreme minority speaks for the majority of people. You know, just like I don't think that ISIS speaks for the majority of Muslims. I don't think that, you know, the people who slaughtered millions on the fucking, you know, Christian crusades speaks for Christianity. I don't think I don't think most Christian children are sitting there going, I want to go kill me a Muslim. No, I really don't. And, you know, so in this society, we like to think that a minority of idiots speaks for the majority of everybody, simply because the majority of everybody has been trained to have low self-esteem and no confidence, and they don't speak up for themselves. Whereas the minority of idiots have foolishness and confidence in equal measure. They speak up, they speak really loudly, and, you know, they spout their shit. And so, you know, the majority isn't speaking up because this extreme minority is like intimidating them, because the majority has been trained by society to be terrified and complacent, and, oh, I better not speak up, I better not make waves, otherwise somebody's going to come after me, or whatever paranoid thing it is that, you know, the person's been taught to think, because paranoia is rampant. I mean, you know, why do you think kids don't ask questions in school? Uh-oh, I better not ask a question. I might get in trouble. The teacher will call me a troublemaker. I might get sent to the dean's office. And yes, that's true. That's the way schools teach people. But that extends forward through adult life as well. And so, you know, the majority is afraid to speak up because these minority of foolish, loudmouth morons are so intimidating to the majority, who just, you know, doesn't want to be screwed with. It's like, maybe if I keep quiet, everybody will leave me alone, you know. But then everybody sees that the majority isn't speaking up. So then they just assume that these minority of idiots are speaking in an official capacity for the majority. Like, oh, well, the majority aren't saying boo to this, so they must be speaking for the majority then. The majority must be agreeing with it by default of the majority not saying anything. Which, you know, that's a load of shit. The majority are just terrified to say anything, because as soon as anybody says anything, someone like Kajim or Valendale or William Black or whoever, you know, whatever loudmouth is going to pop up and go, no, 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 blah! You know, they're going to pop up, and then most people don't want to deal with that. Most people, you know, they just want to live their existence in peace. So they don't want to have the audacity to, you know, frickin' state an opinion and say, hey, I don't agree with that guy. And then for that guy to be like, screw you, I am God, you know. So it's not that the majority masses agree with the minority of idiots, but everybody thinks that the minority of idiots somehow represents the majority in an approved official way, simply because the majority have been trained to be too terrified to speak up. You know, confidence and foolishness in these minorities are in equal levels, where the majority are too scared to speak. Although thankfully that is starting to change. Not only with things like PSEC episodes, but, you know, lots of other different people doing lots of other different things and speaking up and saying, hey, these minority of idiots don't speak for the rest of us. Fuck you.
Well, yeah, sometimes you just got to take initiative, call bullshit when you see it, and just let things settle out as they may.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anyway, I don't know if we've moved on into the other points.
No, we haven't. I was just buying you some time, and I was just speaking on the dichotomy of, you know, the minority does not speak for the majority, but people have a tendency to think they do. So when they see some wacko nut jobs spouting a bunch of bullshit, everybody just assumes, oh, well, they must speak for the majority. ISIS must speak for all Muslims. The people who slaughtered millions in the Christian crusades, they must speak for all Christians. And it's like, no, Sorry.
Mhm. Exactly. Okay, moving on to point 3. Both sides can agree that polluting the water is a bad idea. Yes. And insert the dogma. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised to find some downplaying it, though. I saw apologists for freedom industries come out in defense of fresh water disposal of chemical waste by dumping it directly into rivers, even when even the industries that produce the waste have diluted it first. When the Cayuga River caught fire, industry apologists tried to argue against regulating freshwater waste disposal. Yet again, that's like marital status of the number 5. That's like saying,
Yeah.
well, because this company said this, that means all of these climate deniers also agree. It's like, no, those are 2 different things. I think that company's fucked. I think that
Yeah.
company ought to be shut down. I think that company ought to be, thrown away. But let's not focus on just American companies. They're regulating the shit out of American companies. What people like Valendale fail to realize is, okay, a $25,000 DEQ fine, like, okay, here's a local story that had just happened. Medford Water Commission dumped 1.65 million gallons of highly chlorinated toxic water into one of our local creeks. The DEQ fines them $25,000. $25,000 to a normal, bread and butter person, that's a lot of money. To a corporation, that's burger and fries. That's nothing. They're not going to care about that.
Not even. That's a penny. That's a penny. That's the equivalent of doing 100 and a 40, and the cop pulls you over and says, "I'm giving you a ticket, 1 penny." Like, really? That's it? Yeah. So every time I speed, I'm going to get a 1 penny ticket. Yeah. Okay. I think I can afford a couple of bucks a month.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's so small. It's not even funny. It's a tiny little. These corporations don't care, and if they regulate the shit out of them here in the States, they'll just move their corporations over to China where the regulations aren't existent, and they'll continue doing the same thing there, and they'll pollute the people there.
Oh, and speaking of apologists, if I may be so bold to say, as statements like what Valendale is making basically is being a climate theory apologist. And it's even calling people who have alternative views those change deniers would be like the equivalent of saying those niggers, because it's a derogatory. It's like, well, those climate denying niggers, they just hate white people because they're climate denying niggers, and they hate white people, and white people love us some climate. We love us some climate. Yeah, ooh, climate, nature's our friend. White people, the good guys, but them climate denying niggers, yeah, they big evil bad niggers, hate nature, niggers bad. That is like exactly how this sounds when I see people talk like that. I'm like, LOL, like, wow.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, moving on to point 4. That was a funny one. Moving on to point 4. Both sides can agree that switching to clean energy sources is a good idea. Yes, it is. Enter in the dogma. Actually, the climate science deniers are also generally against green energy and spread lies and propaganda against it. Chasm constantly spreads misinformation about wind power and has targeted solar as well. And so goes the trend. Okay. I don't agree with global warming, the man-made global warming. I agree with natural global warming. It's been going on with the climate for billions of years.
Billions of years. I do agree that we exacerbate existing conditions, though. We take an existing condition and we make it 10 times worse. I do agree with that.
No, we take hundredths of a degree differences and we go, way out of line. But anyway, the funny thing is, I, for one, agree with clean energy. Now, I will say that Chasm has a point. Chasm is correct when you're talking about on mass industrial scale. Wind and solar are very inefficient, but on an individual basis,
highly efficient.
Highly efficient. Like having a little tiny wind turbine on your roof. Do you think Birdie's going to go near that? And having solar panels, you have all the power you need.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you have backup storage batteries and things of that nature. You have all the power you're going to ever want.
So
on mass scale, things like hydropower, there's all kinds of clean, efficient energy. Geothermal, which we have the technology to access geothermal anywhere in the world nowadays, even though they won't tell you that.
Yeah, and even tidal energy alone, just tidal energy can provide the world's power 1,000 times over, much less anything else. So there's all these different sources. And what was I going to say about this? When people look at posts like what Kajum is making, Kajum's not saying, oh, well, fuck wind energy and that's all bad. What he's saying is there are responsible and irresponsible ways to use wind energy. And then, someone comes in and says, fuck you, if you say anything negative about wind energy at all, you're anti-wind. That would be like if I said, well, use a hammer safely. Don't hit yourself in the thumb with it. Oh, he's saying that it's possible to hit yourself in the thumb with a hammer. He's a hammer denier. He's a hammer hater. He's against hammers. He needs to shut up. And it's like, what? It's not what I said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a common trend amongst, the quote unquote, what people mostly, the bad type of new agey, kind of wishy-washy, kind of, Greenpeace type people. You add any criticism whatsoever of how to make something more efficient or better, they automatically take that as you're against them, you hate them, fuck you, go to hell, you have no right to speak, you're just a denier, you're for the corporations. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm just saying you guys could be, if you guys would pull your heads out of your asses, wash the diarrhea out of your hair, you'd realize, oh, maybe we can take this technology and make it better than it already is and make it so efficient, in fact, that the establishment wouldn't have any other alternative but to switch to it.
No, but people like fighting each other more than they like fighting the establishment. It's all dick wagging. They want to shake their fist. They want to shake their fist and go, Daddy beat me as a child and Mommy was never there and bullies always harass me. So I'm going to take years of pent-up frustration and I'm going to launch it out on the nearest anybody using any excuse. Just like how a lot of these cops are bullies. Because a lot of these bullies start to realize, they graduate high school or get kicked out or whatever the case may be. And they're like, wait a minute, if I bully people in high school, I get in trouble. But if I become a cop, I can bully people legally. I can bully all the people I want. And then they have to listen to me. So there's a lot of bullies that join the police force. I'm not saying all cops are bullies, but a lot. So it's like the same idea. Whether you're talking about cops or online web forums about topics or whatever, there's a lot of people that are all butthurt because they had a shitty childhood or whatever. Well, gee, welcome to the fucking club. The whole earth has been a psychological fuckover for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Join the club. Welcome to earth. And so they just want to rage out and lash out and vent, and they want to do it destructively while acting as if they're doing something constructive because they felt like a victim all their life. They want to seem like a hero. In order to seem like a hero, they need a nemesis, and they just pick anybody.
Anyway, moving on. You replied, Paradigm Shifting replied, with respect, all I really see is your opinions and no facts. Thus once more giving credence to my conclusion that both sides prioritize only on bitching at each other and neither side is actually willing to do anything about anything. Thank you for proving my point with stunning clarity. And that's totally true.
With respect, insert propaganda website here.
Yeah. With respect, insert one website that we probably looked up on Google in a 15-second search
or less
that you probably didn't even look at, but just barely skimmed over and said, oh, that looks extreme enough and ludicrous enough for my opinion, even though there's probably some facts in there that you probably failed to look at because you were too busy trying to find something to get on the other side. Oh, look at them. Oh, those demons. Oh, they're evil. Anyway, it's not an opinion that there are climate change deniers promoting the idea that increased CO2 levels is good. Wait a minute, is good? Don't you mean are good? Are you that retarded? Did you forget how to spell? Did you forget your proper grammar and pronunciation?
I'm not retarded. I'm a Common Core student.
is good for the environment. The only thing I think is actually an opinion. I wouldn't be surprised, which is followed by the reasons I wouldn't be surprised.
Just don't use the word "tooken," or I'll have to give you shit.
Mm-hmm. It's just, you know, yet again, Valendale brainwashed into the idea that, you know, there's no other opinion. We got to slam things into a box. It's just all one giant, evil plot to destroy us, truth seeker, crusaders of God, her bringing the truth to the world. It's like, yeah, whatever, why don't I pull my pants and shit on your shoes? Because that's pretty much what's going to happen either way.
There's a difference between being the change and bitching about the change.
It's like, going into a daycare, you got all these little kids screaming and crying over, worthless,
it's like
nasty smelling toys.
I'm
pulling and yanking.
I'm doing my part. I'm being the change. I'm sitting here bitching. That's being the change.
While scribbling nasty pictures of the kid they don't like across the room. I'm being the change. Look at me. I'm making something. It's like, yeah, whatever.
I'm making a difference in this world.
And paradigm shifting. Excuse me. And paradigm shifting. Yet again, Dave Kelso. Again, what you are presenting me only serves to make my original point, and there's nothing anyone can say that won't absolutely prove my point with perfect clarity. Anything that any faction says against the other is proof that bickering is the only priority of both factions. You are still proving this, and thus my point is made and validated. I am simply not entirely sure if you're pretending to get my point,
pretending not to get my point.
No, that's what I thought I said. If I didn't,
you didn't.
Okay, pretending not to get my point, or if I am speaking so completely outside of the box of your paradigm that my point is invisible to you. Anyone from either side, whose priority is to bicker, bitch, and disagree and debate are all equally a part of the same problem. It doesn't matter what subtopic is being bickered about, who said what, who on what website, who is claiming what about what. All you're doing is bringing up bickering points. All I am saying is that bringing up bickering points is the only priority of both sides, and that neither side wants to put disagreements aside and to figure out what everyone actually agrees on and then take action on that. You're proving that bickering is your priority and that solving the problems is not. This is true of both sides. Go look up the word in the dictionary and go look up the word dichotomy. If half of one of your opponent
your half of
one of your opponents on the are on the other half, one coin, two wings, one bird, one snake, two heads. Want more metaphors? You can't win a debate with me about this because I'm not debating. I'm not taking a side. So there's nothing either side of you could. There's nothing for either side for you to attack. I'm saying both sides are full of shit and are two halves of one coin. I'm saying both sides are idiots, both sides are wrong, both sides are missing the point, and both sides are part of the problem, not the solution. I've said the same about truthers, new agers, etc., etc., etc. I respect your free will right to be wrapped up in this dichotomy if you want to. By all means, roll in it to your own destruction if you'd like. I just enjoy pointing out the elephant in the room, or the pink elephant, or whatever you want to call it.
And GeneralTate, aka Rich Hamilton,
yep.
Also
and insert me, insert myself. And I just reply, I'm going to have to agree with the article. Basic science shows that plants thrive in a CO2-rich environment and in turn produce more oxygen. While the globalist push on man-made global warming is nothing more than for carbon taxes. They succeeded with that agenda in Australia, and the economy down there has been poor ever since. Although I have to agree with this journal, as well that both sides agree to these points. I know I do. And I just relist all the points. Both sides can agree that clear-cutting forests is a bad idea, et cetera, so on and so forth.
And then the conversation forks again.
And Valendale.
Everyone. You missed it. I replied to him. Yeah.
Well, no, that's the. Wait a minute.
No,
that's the one you already said.
Wait. No.
I already stated that one. See? It's the one I just looked at. That was the one I was just reading.
Okay, and then we're going here. Well, then let's go one further, one deeper. Here. Let's go deep into the butthole.
Okay. And Valendale replies, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, but not their own facts. Okay? Attributed to so many people that I don't even know who actually said it first. Well, who said it first? Who is a pretty broad conundrum.
Those nature-hating niggers. I mean, climate change.
I mean, who? Who is who? Who's what? Who's where? It's like the 5 W's. It's bland. It's like it could be anything. Climate change.
We must fight the war on terror.
We must fight the war on terror for the new world order. I am George W. Bush George H.W. Bush. You're either with us or you're one of the terrorists.
And those climate change deniers, a.k.a. nature-hating niggers that the KKK should have eliminated. Yeah, because if you're not with us, you're with the terrorists, and, well, we're the terrorists, too. So no matter what, you're with the terrorists. So, it's like...
Yeah. But anyway, he continues on. Climate change deniers are as wrong on the facts about global warming as young Earth creationists are about evolution. Yet again, both opinions not backed by any scientific fact whatsoever,
Yep.
Even though, it's entirely plausible that, the Earth could be 4,000 years old. Who's to deny what the creator of the universe can and cannot do? We're basing it based on our perspective of a limited spectrum of science, which is an infinitesimally tiny perspective. Anyway, all ideas are not equal. Okay, that's a total fascist idea. That sounds like Hitler talking right there. Was nicht 5999, slamming his hand on the table. All ideas are not equal and equally deserving of respect. And I reject your relativistic something big word weird haven't seen
relativistic equivocations and premise.
Okay, got it.
In other words, pseudo-intellectual ad hominems.
Aha. Progress is made through innumerable conflicts and debates. No, that just sends you far backwards, and you forgot to capitalize progress because you must learn more with Common Core, obviously.
Let's ignore history. Let's ignore that,
Yeah.
Through debate
because fighting with each other really solves problems, right? Yeah, beating the shit out of each other over and over again proves that you're just right all the time. No, you're just going to make the other guy hate you.
Einstein's
doesn't do anything.
Einstein's definition of insanity, or as I like to call it, Einstein's definition of
I'm going to slam my hand to death with the hammer over and over again, and at some point there's going to be a flower that's going to pop out of one of the fractured bones because that's what I said.
Doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results each time. But then we take the same thing and we put it in a box, and we make the wrapping paper completely different so we can point to it and go, no, we're not repeating the same thing. It's different, see? Before, the wrapping paper on this exact same thing was pink, and now the wrapping paper on this exact same thing is blue. It's the same thing in the same wrapping paper, but because we changed the color, we're going to say, no, it's not the same thing. Is this completely different this time? Yeah, okay, sure. So if I take a shit on your face from one perspective, it's rude because I just shit on your face. But if I use different words and present it differently, then shitting on your face is a health benefit. You should want me to shit on your face. Okay.
Minds are affected a few at a time. Bullshit doesn't wash itself away. No, I'm pretty sure I washed my own bullshit out of my mind. I'm pretty sure I purged that by myself. Living example proof. If you don't believe me, I don't really give a shit, because who's more the proof than me witnessing myself do something? So you're going to tell me my eyes are lying to me? Really?
I
A
love it.
biological function is lying to me. My mind is lying to me. Really?
I love it when people who adhere to really strict, narrow doctrine say, "My mind is open. You're the closed-minded one." I love that.
Right. Well, you're sitting there presenting another perspective, and they're the one raging against it like a little child. No, that's not right. Yeah.
You know what I love? I love it when people are like, like you try to show them evidence to something. I don't want to look at it because I already know it's bullshit, and therefore I don't have to look at it because it would be a waste of my time and an insult to my intelligence. That's not science. That's egotism.
Yes. No, there's absolutely no science behind egotism. That's just taking your personal views, your own personal dogmas, and making a religion out of it.
And trying
It's not science. It's not backed up by anything. It's just your opinions boosted on steroids.
And trying to do science based on predetermination is not science, because science is about exploring all avenues and seeing what happens and weighing the data. What most modern so-called pseudoscientists do is they go, I already believe this, so I'm going to only look at all data which agrees with my platform, but I'm going to shun any other data because I already know all that's wrong, so I don't even need to look at it. And it's like, okay, whatever, that's fine, but that's not science.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
By pure definition, it's not science.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, if you both could miss my point any more epically, I'd feel guilty that I don't have any special award to give you both, LOL.
Yep.
So it's just like, wow, airplane over the head. Meow.
And then Valendale replies, was your point that all ideas are equal and no one is right about anything and we should all join hands and sing Kumbaya in shared bewilderment? That's rhetorical. I know this hyperbolic straw man of your actual point, but I reject your presumptions and false equivocations.
Oh, okay. So people being allowed their perspective, they're not allowed. They do not agree with me.
Well, I would say no, you are correct. I would say you are correct from a scientific standpoint, because every person on this planet believes to the nail that their perspective is the almighty God. So therefore, on that perspective, that would mean they are equal in their arrogance.
Hey, let me.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that everybody is entitled to their opinions, and they're all going to think equally high of their opinions.
Exactly.
Believe me, I deal with people every day who have that.
I mean, look at just as an example, the KKK. Do you really think who thinks that the KKK actually thinks that they're wrong? Who thinks that the KKK are sitting there like, I know I'm wrong, I know I'm full of shit, but I'm just going to go out and trick everybody into what I'm saying. Ha 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 ha. No, they're not sitting there thinking that. They really think that black people and so on are evil. They really think that they're this dangerous menace that needs to be exterminated. They really think that they are doing the loving, right, moral thing by killing black people because these black people are so evil and da-da-da-da-da. They really think that. Honest to God, they really think it. They're not sitting there going, well, I don't actually believe that, but I just want to troll everybody around me, so I'm just going to act like I do because I enjoy being hateful. Ha ha ha. From their perspective, they're not being hateful. As was from a line in Inglorious Bastards, the one French guy was talking to the Nazi, and the French guy asked the Nazi, he's like, what did these Jews ever do to you? Why don't you just leave them alone? Just let bygones be bygones. Why go around and exterminating all these Jews? And the Nazi's like, do you have anything against rats? Did they do anything to you personally? And he goes, no. And he said, But if you saw one running around your home, would you kill it? And he said, maybe. But do you have anything against the rat? Why are you killing the rat? Are you hateful against the rat? No. So, I'm not promoting Nazism with that. I'm just saying that from the Nazi perspective, they're not doing anything wrong from their view. I'm not saying that, they're not doing anything wrong. I'm saying they don't believe they are. They're not sitting there like, I know I'm doing something wrong, but I'm just going to fucking troll everybody. No, they honestly are so delusional, they think they're doing nothing wrong. So that's the point.
Mhm. And then you reply yet again, nope, not my point at all, not even close. The idea of joining hands and singing Kumbaya is Nazism. And will never happen, because it's impossible for all humans to share the same view about everything. And in any attempt to force or coerce another human into a different point of view is Nazism and its tyranny. Utopianism is an impossible Nazi wet dream. So no, not what I was implying at all. Let me do my best to be a bit more cutting with my point, with the hopes that you might understand it. You don't have to agree with it, but you at least know what I was saying. It would be if you knew it, but if you knew at least what I was saying, it would be a plus. I'm saying both sides are idiots, dicks, arrogant fucks, all about dick wagging and ego games. That no one on any side of this issue wants to do any good, and the only goal is to beat each other up with insults and stick your dicks in each other's faces, while accomplishing a whole lot of nothing. I'm saying that these debates are nothing but childish bullshit, ego, arrogance, hubris, whatever it's spelled. A bunch of immature children who don't even have the first clue about how to discuss issues of this or any level of importance. I'm saying that both sides of this issue could give two fucks less about the environment, not really. All they care about is fighting each other and winning the battle of ego with each other, like two dogs ripping at each other, because that's how society programs human beings to be, aggressive idiots. Both sides can debate this until the sun goes nova and not ever accomplish anything, because accomplishing something is not the goal of either side. The goal is endless fighting because it feels good to fight, nothing more. And the fact that none of you can stop and say, okay, Dave, we accept that we all disagree on a lot of shit, so let's explore what we might actually agree on and figure that out, because fighting over what we disagree on is a waste of time. Let's see, discover what we agree on instead of ripping each other like a bunch of pissed off retards. I'm the Comic Con student. I don't like you. Proves by your actions as to what your actual goals are. The whole point of my journal post is to simply point out why all sides are full of shit. I'm not trying to claim anyone's science is wrong or about CO2 or anything else. I'm saying that the people doing the debating have as much integrity as a pile of shit and do not know how to do anything other than bicker like idiot children. And you all prove this because none of you are willing to stop and calm down. Ripping into each other is all both sides want to do. And you continue to prove it, as does your adversary. I'm saying both sides completely lack integrity. It's Hitler trying to argue with the KKK about racism, to use a metaphor. And both sides feel so arrogantly justified. So no, I'm not suggesting utopianism. I'm observing shitty, incompetent attitudes and calling it out for what it is. Whether it's you, Kazim, bitching at each other, whether it's you or Kazim bitching at each other, or the thousands of other uptight morons all over the online world that just want to stick their cocks in people's faces. Is my point finally clear, or do I need to draw it in crayon for you?
And then all Kajim had to say is, bull fucking shit. Then he blocks me.
Yeah.
So I do have to say that Valendale is exerting more integrity than Kajim, and that came completely as a shock to me. I did not see that coming. I will be honest. I thought the reverse flip was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. The idea of joining hands and singing Kumbaya is Nazism and will never happen because it's impossible for all humans to share the same viewpoint about anything, and any attempt to force or coerce another human into a different point of view is Nazism and its tyranny. Utopianism is an impossible Nazi wet dream. So no, not what I was implying at all. Vallandale decided to pull that. You don't have to agree with it, but if you at least knew what I was saying, it would be a plus. And then he replies with his dogmatic stuff. Maybe it would help people understand what you were saying if you didn't casually throw around words like Nazism and utopianism in such ridiculous broad statements of questionable implications as attempting to force or coerce another human into a different point of view is Nazism, like you've been watching Alex Jones all day. Okay, there's throwing something into a box.
Yeah,
you
no
watch
kidding.
Alex Jones, motherfucker. I'm Alex Jones. I'm against the globalists. Ah! Yeah, no. I watch Alex Jones too, Vallandale. I like Alex Jones. I think his persona is very funny because it pisses little butthurt tards off like you. Now, is Alex not perfect? No. Does he go off course a lot of the time? Yes. He's a human. He's not perfect. Yet again, judging the messenger, not the message. He has opinions that I don't agree with. I don't think are correct. I don't think he's God who's correct on every little thing that he ever spews out of his mouth. But I like Alex. I think Alex does a good job, and I think he presents a lot of good, useful information and really throws some cool shit out there, And I think that can be said by a lot of people. I don't necessarily, I don't agree with everything he says, but
sometimes Alex acts like a butthurt little bitch too, and I'll call him on just as quickly as I call anybody else on anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And the absolute minority of content that I watch comes from Alex.
Mm-hmm.
I can only take him in limited doses, to be honest.
Well, he is kind of what you would call 100 proof. He's very rough. I saw this InfoWars ad for him, and he's like, it's hard for people to handle you when you're at 100 proof. And I'm like, yeah, that would be Alex, 100 proof.
Yeah.
Really rough going down. You just take a shot of it, and you're like,
yeah, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
but I find it funny, especially on an art site, that people are so narrow-minded about the use of metaphoric speaking and euphemism. They're so locked down. They look at a word and a term and they say, nope, there's no other frame of reference other than what I singularly think it's supposed to mean. Fuck everybody else. And then when anybody uses that word or term, it doesn't dawn on them that maybe there's more than one context for a particular word or term. That maybe the world isn't black, white, up, down, just one thing or the other. Maybe reality is a cake, not a light switch. And as we know, with a cake, if you change one ingredient just slightly, you end up with a whole different cake. And that's the way reality works. But some people think it's a light switch. It's either on or it's off. It's up or it's down. And they make opposites fight each other, which is as stupid as saying the right side of your body has to battle the left side of your body until one destroys the other. And it's really fucking ridiculous, in my opinion. And again, this just totally makes my point. Like, this is the type of view that I'm running into here. People who are indoctrinated, narrow thinkers, and no offense to Vallandale, that's just my opinion of the way he comes off. He's very attacking. He's very self-righteous. He wants to conquer and dominate. Well, Dave, you don't know me. How can you say that? Your actions, dude. Your actions. Look what you're doing. Your actions. You're saying, no, Dave, you're not allowed to use any terminology except in the context that I say is right, that I say is valid. Everything else can go fuck itself. There is no other way but my perspective. Fuck you. You're using big pseudo-intellectual articulate words to say that, but arose by any other name, as Shakespeare said. Oh, you're using Shakespeare. You must be a hippie, stupid, like literature nerd or something. You're a lit major, and you wear sweaters and sitting in Starbucks and sip lattes because you quoted Shakespeare. Yeah, okay, all right, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, talk about using slurs. Using profiling type slurs, about as bad as using racist slurs, if you will, profiling. But anyway.
And at least, you know, when I call someone an idiot, I acknowledge that that's my opinion, not an absolute fact. And I don't get all butthurt when they call me a nut job or delusional or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's their right to their opinion. I have the right to think they're a narrow-minded, indoctrinated idiot, and they have the right to think I'm some conspiracy nut, New Ager, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, whatever enemy camps they want to throw me into. Because I've noticed liberals think I'm conservative, conservatives think I'm liberal, Republicans think I'm Democrat, Democrats think I'm Republican. Because I have the audacity to commit the ultimate blasphemy. I agree with some of what all the groups say. I disagree with what others say. And to add insult to injury, I agree and disagree for my own reasons, from my own perspectives that I don't feel anybody else has to share. And I'm not obligated to meet the appeasement or approval of anybody else. I'm allowed to feel how I feel. And that just, like, people are like, oh, you're the enemy. Okay, cool. Whatever.
Yep. And that can go for a lot of us who are in those same shoes. But anyway, moving on. And then he highlights, you know, I'm saying both sides are idiots, and then he replies with his dogmatic stuff. Yeah, people who didn't understand the science or hold strong ideological opposition to it sometimes said the same when creationism was still a thing of significance, and creationists were attacking evolution and spreading pseudoscience. It's like, oh, really? And your views aren't pseudoscience? I'm thinking they're only based on opinions and your assertions of the facts. So wouldn't it be safe to say, with humanity in its current state, that all, if not 99.9% of science is in fact pseudoscience, because we're making judgments on the fabric of time and space. We're making judgments about God. We're making judgments about this. We're making judgments about that black hole over there. We're making judgments about that supernova. We're making judgments about the distance of, you know, the universe. I mean, you know, the visible universe. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Genetics has already disproven evolution. I'm not saying that DNA doesn't evolve. I'm just saying that that it's like saying a toy truck is the real truck. Shut up, you can't tell me otherwise. I'm not saying there's no such thing as the real truck. I'm just saying evolutionists have confused the toy truck for the real truck. And creationists have done the same.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, the fundamentalist Christians who say the Bible is the only word on how the universe was created, there's no other reality, are just as bad as the people who say science is the only way, creationism's a crock of shit, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing, just change the words around and the semantics and everything involved. But anyway, moving on.
Dick wagging.
It's dick wagging, yes. You know what? Even if both sides are idiots and arrogant, one side is anti-science and the like, like the intelligent design proponents dressing up its anti-science with pseudoscience BS that only specifically looks like science if you don't examine it closely. Oh, gee, what are you doing, Mr. Valendale? We are skimming everything just to find things that back up our conclusions about how reality works and not looking at any other information. Sounds like pseudoscience to me. But, oh, you couldn't do that, Mr. Holy Valendale. No, I bow to you and your superior knowledge because you can do no wrong. You've obviously said so. You're God. What does God need with a starship? I'm going to bow to you like you're a deity. Okay, Apophis, let me bow to you. You're so superior. You're like Ra. You can do no wrong. I mean, I could go on all day about you're basically pointing at fingers at drug users. Meanwhile, while you're sticking this big ass huge fucking needle of heroin into your arm, oh yeah, that's the shit. Oh man, my voice is getting really slow, man. Feel that heroin going in my veins, but don't be doing methamphetamine. It's like, huh?
You marijuana users are evil. If you were holy and righteous, you'd be doing heroin.
You marijuana users are evil. If you were righteous, you'd be doing heroin. Heroin's good for you.
Let me define science versus pseudoscience. This is real easy. Science is whatever the mainstream, arrogant, elitist buttfuckers frickin' say is real, and pseudoscience is anyone who has any other ideas or questions anything, who dares to say, hey, maybe what about this? You're crazy. You're a pseudoscientist. You're going against the doctrine. I wish more people would read up on Einstein, because our current mentality of quote unquote science is everything Einstein warns us about. I would really like some of these people to argue with Einstein, basically, to look at these Einstein quotes and try to argue how Einstein is wrong. I would love to see that. I would love to see people be like, I know more than Einstein. Here, look. Nobody does that, because deep down inside, they know that it's a lost cause because they know they're full of it. But I would love to see some of these people actually have the balls to go through specific things Einstein said and go, no, Einstein's wrong, and here's why. Nobody does it, but I'd love it if they did. It would be hilarious.
Or even try to say that Tesla is wrong. But anyway, moving on. Okay, yeah, intelligent design. Okay, move through that one. And I don't consider fighting against pseudoscience to be an ego game. If they're allowed, they'll monopolize the media with their message. They'll lie to the public. They'll fool our politicians, and they'll convince the people who haven't the time or the interest to examine closely that coal and oil and nuclear power are all will never end up. We'll never need to look at any alternatives. Alternatives are bad. And we don't need to consider what impact of increasing carbon levels in the atmosphere by 8% might have because us itty-bitty humans who create clouds of pollution that span half the globe somehow through some miracle of our insignificance can't really change the planet. That's their narrative. That was Hitler's narrative against the Jews. Hold on, let me finish. That's their narrative. That's their end game. That's their only message people like you will ever hear if everyone who takes them on sits silently and lets them have their way. Now, hold on. I'm going to say this to Valendale, and if the other side had their little push, they do the same exact thing to the other opposite extreme and say there's no other alternative. We can only do wind power and solar power in this way. There's no other way to do it. There's only one expression of this type of energy use. If you don't do it this way, then it's Nazism. It's terrible for the planet. Both sides are just as bad. Okay, yeah, I'm not saying coal and oil and, standard fission nuclear power are good. They're terrible for the environment. Would I say use the current constructs of what we have to get to someplace better? Absolutely. That's what we should be doing. We should be using what we've got to get where we need to go. And,
This is anti-critical thinking. This is saying, blindly believe me because I say so and I'm right and what I say is science and what anybody else says isn't. Don't think critically. Don't question. Don't look at any other alternatives. And to such an extent that it's like they're saying anybody who thinks in any other way needs to be silenced because, it's like, yeah, most of us have not been taught to think critically. This is true. Most of us will just latch onto and believe what the fuck ever anybody says. This is how tyrants have risen to power and everything else. So if people are thinking uncritically, then what does it matter which side the majority of people take? No matter what, the people are thinking uncritically. I think it's better to encourage people to think critically. People don't have to agree with me. Hell, they could agree with Valendale and think I'm completely full of shit. But if they're critical thinkers, let them at least say that based on what they've researched and what they've really thought. Not like, oh, all these people with degrees say that science is one thing and not another, so I'm just going to blindly believe what they say, and I'm not going to think critically, and I'm not going to ask, oh, really? Is it really? Is there anything else? Science used to be about exploration. Now it's about adherence to dogma, and anybody who asks questions or challenges the dogma is called a pseudoscientist or a nut job or a loon or whatever. It's like, oh, you better conform to the accepted whatever. If you have any other thoughts or ideas about anything, you're not allowed to question. You're not allowed to say them. You're not allowed to believe anything else. And if you do, you're a horrible person and da-da-da-da-da. Look, the real problem is most people aren't taught to think critically. So as long as people are thinking uncritically, it doesn't matter who they believe. They're still thinking uncritically. That's it's two expressions of the same trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's not even funny, you know. I remember when I was in Washington D.C. With my history teacher, and you know, a bunch of other teachers. But anyway, we were at the National Geographic headquarters, and the editor in chief, who was also a Crater graduate from the high school I graduated from, was talking about global warming, and you know, talking about how anybody who says anything else is a pseudoscientist. And I, you know, when I walked out of that room, I told my history teacher I'd question him. You know, I would literally have a discussion with him. She was like, "Oh, you would argue him? Oh, he's the editor in chief. How could you possibly push the oh, you know?" She was just totally shocked by that. And I was like, I don't give a shit if he's the editor in chief or if he's, you know,
President of the United States.
The President of the United States. I don't care. I'd fucking argue his ass into the ground. I'd fucking push his ass into the ground. I'd be like, look, you know.
But you wouldn't tell him what is supposedly what. You'd ask questions. Really, what do you base this on? Where did you get that? And he'd be like, shut up. I pulled it out of my science butt, and that's good enough. My butt is the holy butt of science. Anything I pull out of it is true. So shut up.
I'd be like, okay, yeah, Mr. President. Mm-hmm. Right.
You're not allowed to ask questions or expect me to tell you where I got my facts. And then I love it when people think that someone else's opinion is a fact. Here's my facts. And then they give you someone else's opinion, which is based on someone else's opinion, which is based on someone else's opinion. But they're like, these are facts. See, this guy over here's got 10 degrees and fucks llamas in a politically correct, socially acceptable way. So he's a fact. He doesn't just have facts. He is a fact. If it comes out of his mouth, it's gold, it's God, and it's true. That's what I'm basing it on. And people don't even realize that that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I'm gonna base my statistics on statistics that were based on statistics, based on statistics, based on statistics. Where's the originating facts? So let's go down the rabbit hole. It's an infinite fucking bottomless pit.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, going to the point that you're going to make. I was being euphemistic with my language. If you want to take metaphors to literal extremes and read more into it than what's really there, that's your right to do so if you want to do so. So if more creative language gave you the wrong idea, let me attempt to simplify it for you. Y'all bicker and bitch like children, and that wastes time and gets nothing done, and no amount of science or fancy words that either side spews at each other changes the fact that both sides lack integrity. You're both trying to force each other's views down each other's throats. It accomplishes nothing. Now, if you can understand that this point I'm making, then you can disagree with it all you want to, but at least you'll understand what it is you're disagreeing with. I think most people who debate this stuff, including you and Casham, do so very childishly and are only out to beat each other up with words, but otherwise accomplish nothing. The same goes for any human with the same attitude, regardless of which side of the debate they are on, how much science they know, or how many degrees they may or may not hold. I'm saying that purely coming from the point of how humans treat each other. Both sides have zero integrity as humans, no integrity, and all ego. I see both sides as egocentric, immature, and who are unwilling to calm down and hear each other out. Hell, y'all can't even agree to disagree like little children, brats. Is that better? And then Valendale. It's really hard to understand what you're saying when you constantly do that sort of "get the globalist Alex Jones, I'm on it" thing with the language like Nazism. I'm probably guilty of doing something like that sometimes, though. Casham wants to hijack WikiLeaks group with anti-science propaganda.
And again.
Casham bad. Valendale good. Casham bad. Valendale good. Yeah, we all know what happened in Animal Farm.
Both butt hurt.
Both butt hurt, both stupid. No, fuck you. Valendale good, Casham bad. Yeah, the same thing. I don't even really have to go here with this, and started in on me a long time ago with his anti-green energy propaganda. Even though I've read his comments, he's not anti-green energy. He's just questioning the very premise of it, like any of us. He's either a paid mouthpiece or a perfect shill. Either way, I've decided I'm not going to let him just spew whatever he likes.
More ad
Don't you
hominem.
mean don't whatever he likes instead of lies? Maybe that's just a little subconscious blurb. He wants whatever he likes. He wants unchallenged. I can see it. I'm going to debunk him. I'm going to heckle him. I'm going to call bullshit when I see bullshit. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it so that other people can see, because I'm God and my view's right. He's wrong.
Anybody who dares question anything is evil and a fringe scientist and a loon. You better dare not question anything ever.
Nothing will ever change the mind of someone like Kashim. He may not even believe the stuff he posts, but there is calling the BS in front of others. You may think that's childish and egocentric. I think that's how the internet goes and how society progresses. Because I'm God and I'm doing justice for the holy righteousness of the Lord, and that's what God wants us to do, is to call people on their bullshit and send them to hell. Amen.
Because beating...
We gotta send them to hell, hallelujah! And then you got the organ playing in the background, all freaking crazy. We gotta send the non-believers to hell, and we gotta persecute those who don't believe in the climate science, and I'm Vailendale, and you're gonna go to hell if you don't believe everything that I'm saying, because I'm preaching to the Lord God, and you are a sinner, and you are bad. And then you got like the black choir singing in the background and all that shit. And I'm just sitting here doing the Picard face palm, and I'm just like, Jesus H. Christ. They know not what they do.
No kidding.
They know not what they do.
Yeah, because beating people up worked so well before the internet, right?
Mr. Vailendale, tear down this wall. Mr. Vailendale, tear down this wall.
And again, I'll remind people that the whole point of this post was not to debate the issue of climate change at all. It was for me to make my point that both sides just beat.
I don't think we really need to even go through all the comments. I think just what we've said has made the point clear enough. So loud, in fact, that it's not even in any question of contestation. I mean, the arrogance here is just off the charts.
Let's see how much. Okay, so it's like basically all of this is like basically both Vailendale and Kashim were essentially telling me, you're not allowed to post a topic you want to post on. You have to go into the climate change debate. You're not allowed to say that both sides are acting stupidly and immaturely. You're not allowed to have that as a topic. You have to go into the debate. And Dave, shame on you if you don't. I'm going to block you. I'm going to call you poopy head, whatever, da-da-da-da-da. But shame on you if you don't. Dave, you're not allowed to post a journal about what you want. You're not allowed to have your opinions. You're not allowed to think both sides are full of it. You have to take a side. You have to. You have to. You're not allowed to take your own side. You're not allowed to think critically. You have to conform. There's only two sides to anything, and you have to conform to one. Otherwise, you're a bigger loon than the enemy side. Yeah, you have to conform, and yeah, you're not allowed to talk on anything that we say that you're not allowed to talk on. If you talk on anything that we don't want you talking on, you're a bad boy. Bad, bad, bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's just a dick wagging contest. You can tell they want to stick each other's dicks in each other's assholes. I mean, it's just like, big wet gay. It's like, damn it, you're gay. You may not be this gay, but damn it, you're trying.
Yeah. You know what I would suggest? Get a room.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
Oh, Kashim. Oh, Kashim. Oh, yeah, Kashim. Oh, you're so wrong, Kashim. Oh, you're bad, Kashim. Oh, okay.
Now look, Casham sounds like Valendale, except that I'm backing up my argument with facts, and he's screaming liar, and with nothing but propaganda to back
his claims when you can present me with videos of skeptics saying we were polluted. I'm just asking.
Both are saying the same thing to two different expressions. They're both accusing each other of the same thing. They're both accusing each other of being pseudoscientists. They're both saying that they have to attack each other for the good of humanity, because obviously, you know, attacking people has just worked so well throughout history. You know, obviously right now, all of the world's problems are solved and we have a perfect, peaceful, technological world right now because fighting and killing and attacking and beating each other up for thousands of years just solved all the world's problems. So here we are. There's no pollution. There's no fighting, no war, no genocide. We're all perfectly happy because all those thousands of years of fighting has solved all the world's problems. Yeah, right. Whatever it is you're smoking, I don't want any.
We gotta go on the holy crusade for the Lord Allah. No, it's God. No, it is Allah, infidel. No, it's God. No, it is Allah.
It's source energy. Fuck you. It's the Tao. It's the all that is. It's shut up.
It's Tao.
It's all that
the
is.
Dow Jones Industrial Index. You know that's who God is, because when the stock market's up, everybody's smiling. They don't say otherwise.
I was referring to Middle Eastern religious stuff, or not Middle Eastern, not Eastern religious stuff. When I say the Tao or the Tao.
The Tao. Okay.
Yeah. You know
and then there's Lao Tzu.
Source energy, all that is, God. Hey man, what's up? It's Jesus. Oh, you didn't say Jesus, so you can't be referring to the same person. You're evil. You're not allowed to speak Spanish. Fuck you. Jesus spoke English. I have proof.
The Pope may be French, but Jesus is English. You're on. It's that same type of argument.
Yeah, totally.
No, laddie, Jesus is Scottish.
When they start...
No, Jesus is African.
When they start...
No, Jesus is Chinese.
When they start...
Oh, no, Jesus is Korean. No, Jesus is Japanese.
No, white man. Asians. No, Jesus is Indian. Jesus is our Indian. You're stupid. You're not Indians. You're Native Americans.
When they start jailing skeptics, maybe you'll figure it out. Wait a minute, Kajum. When they start, haven't they been doing that for the longest time? If you say too much against the mainstream and you get popular enough, you end up in Guantanamo Bay or trumped up charges or murdered or whatever. I mean, when they start jailing skeptics, they started a long time ago. Where have you been? When they start?
Probably too busy banging Valendale in the butthole. Just like the Kentucky Derby. I already know we're living in the Fourth Reich, my friend. Until enough people awaken, they jail and abuse and blah, blah, blah. Yep.
Totally. The only reason the majority of people don't get harassed is because they don't have enough personnel to harass the majority. If they did, they would. They just don't due to lack of manpower.
Exactly.
But if they had the manpower, they would. So they have to prioritize and hammer the people that are speaking with the loudest voice and making the best points. So that's always going to be the minority. But that's all the manpower they have. It's about manpower. Just like if everybody, like in a major city, peacefully and civilly in an act of civil disobedience as opposed to protest. Just everybody got out on the street and just started, having a barbecue, just eating food, folks, and fun. And while they're eating, just saying, hey, just having conversations. Oh, look what's going on in the world, and so on and so forth. You would shut down the tyrannical machine by default of everyone withdrawing their participation. And if you've got like 15 million people literally, out on the streets, flipping burgers or whatever, there aren't enough cops. There aren't enough prisons. There aren't enough clerks. There aren't enough judges. There aren't enough lawyers to process that many people. About the only thing you could do is airstrike the city, and then you really know you're living in a tyranny. Then there's the proof right there. Bam. But if everybody, instead of protesting, and the Fed, I don't even know what that means, but I like Ron Paul, and the Fed, instead of doing that, if they all just 15 million people just walked out front of their homes and businesses, got the little barbecue grills, started making hot dogs and sharing food around and just having conversations like a party, what could the cops do? This many people aren't allowed to be out here.
Could you imagine if we went on for like a 4-day block party or something like that all over the United States and in all of the first world Western countries? Could you imagine what the corporations would do? They'd be sending out the police saying you need to detain these people and put them back into work by force because they're damaging society as we know it.
Yeah, no kidding. And then the cops
and then you'd have the roided up cops to be shooting tear gas at people and knocking barbecues over and running around with their batons and shooting off rubber shotgun bullets and you'd see these cops being like attacked by veterans and getting their heads dismembered from their bodies and hanging in trees. And then just a nice little polite sign, a fair warning to any troublemaking cops. You can either be nice and get a hot dog or a cheeseburger of your choice or end up like that poor fucker up there. Your choice.
I don't even think it would get to that point because cops as humans will always save their own asses first before even following orders. I'm
not talking about normal cops. I'm talking about like the guys who are all kind of like, don't have much of a mind, but they're all roided up and they're like, yeah, we need action. Woo!
But even those
pedo bear Eric,
Yeah, but even those won't go up against 15 million people because they still have self-preservation over their own ass. That's what I'm saying. If it was this minority of cops against literally 15 million people out on the streets, they'd look at that shit and be like, nah, I'm going to preserve my own self first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's face it. I don't think it would go down that way if there was that many people because the cops would be... I mean, let's ask any regular human. How likely would you be to walk into a den of 100 lions armed with nothing but a ball bat? Probably not very likely. And that would be like the equivalent. It wouldn't even matter if the cops were all armed and had guns and the citizens weren't. That many people... You could take a ton of people and pile on those cops and obliterate them, even if the cops are armed and the people are not. So cops going to look at that and be like, yeah, I don't think I want to upset this crowd. They seem pretty peaceful. They're eating hot dogs and burgers and whatever. And, oh, I'm being offered a burger. Let's see, what do I want to do? Go up against a force that has me severely outnumbered or eat food? I think I want to eat food. So even the most arrogant action junkie cop is going to preserve their own ass. They're not going to be like, no, I'm just going to go up against impossible odds and get myself killed for no reasons. They're gonna save their own asses first.
Well, that would be kind of funny to see a bunch of SWAT team members out with their tents and like have like an open house on their armored truck and have their guns like all kind of in a like one of those kind of army style, like cross-teed and all that stuff. They got tents set up and they're sitting there with their little George Foreman grills, cooking. And then like Obama comes walking up and he's like, like, freaking out.
'Cause, 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 'cause,
You can't do that. And where's my teleprompter?
People are waking up, and I think it's eventually going to come to stuff like that. I think ideas like, hey, let's just all get out and have like a massive fucking citywide barbecue. Like ideas like that, I think will eventually hit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we would have never thought that the Occupy movement would have been a widespread idea that would hit anywhere. You know, prior to then, I would have been thinking, nah, people are too close-minded and stupid. They could never do something like that. But yet it happened. So I think ideas like, you know, a freaking, you know, all of a sudden everybody in every city in the United States just decides to whip out a barbecue grill and society temporarily comes grinding to a halt because everybody's just out there having food and discussion. That's something that could happen. It, once that sort of idea gets popular enough. I never thought Occupy could happen. I would have thought that I would win the lottery once a day, every day for a year before something like Occupy could happen, but there it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Before Occupy, I thought people were too stupid to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got contradicted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, Occupy wasn't perfect. There was a lot of mistakes made. There's a lot of things they could have done better. But still, even to have something like that happen at all, I would have thought there was no way in hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we've talked on this enough.
I think so, yeah.
So I think I'm going to end this hangout. Thanks to everybody for listening and watching, who listened and watched. Love to both the critical thinkers and the haters. And catch everybody later.